Hello there. Today we're talking about the top 5 best toys of my childhood. That's correct. The top 5 best toys of my childhood. A few weeks ago I did the top 5 most disappointing toys of my childhood, and to be fair, that turned out to be slightly more controversial than I expected. So to address the balance, we're going for the best childhood toys. Now these are my childhood toys, so maybe you have other ones. Let me know in the comments. Now, here before you, you see 4 different action figures. Each one is a representative of one of the best toys of my childhood. So I'm not going to tell you obviously which one is in which order, and you'll be noticing there's no number 5. That's because the best of the best, I've actually, well, I'm going to hide that and we'll see it at last. So you'll have to wait until the end of the video to find out what it is. Right, okay, that all being said and done, let's get into it. And coming in at number 5, we have Britains. Now, Britains used to make the best toy soldiers and the best toy cowboys and Indians and knights. Now, I had a few of the knights, I had a few of the cowboys and Indians, but my main focus would have been on the soldiers. And of the soldiers, it would have been Second World War soldiers. My father used to watch a lot of Second World War movies, Guns N' Roses, Where Eagles Dare, that kind of stuff. And my grandfather served in the Navy in the Second World War and would always regale us with many a story. So those kind of things in combination with reading Commando comics and Battle Action Force and that kind of stuff really fed my imagination, and I used to play toy soldiers. I used to also have the little green toy soldiers as seen in Toy Story.
All right, men, you heard him. Code Red, repeat. We are at Code Red. Recon Plan Charlie, execute. Let's move, 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 move.
And what I would do is use some Lego or some wooden blocks just to make a village so they could skirmish through it. I also have some of the cannons and heavy artillery, mortars, and some of the vehicles that would also go with these guys. So you could have a real good afternoon's fun of maybe invading the farmyard, because I had the Britain's farmyard as well when I was younger. I think I think I had more farmyard animals and farmyard stuff than I had soldiers. I think my parents or my grandparents were trying to get me more into farming for some bizarre reason. But no, that would mainly be taken over by the Germans and would have to be retaken by the Allied soldiers. So there you go. In at number 5, Britain's toy soldiers, cowboys, and knights, and a farmyard, which I don't have because it's still in England. But there you go. Right, next. And in at number 4, we have one of the greatest toy lines ever made. So great, it's in at number 4, which makes you think the next 3 must be really bloody good, right? So here we have Condor and Brad Turner. Now, the reason why these are on the turning table thing in front of you right now is because these were the first mask set that I got as a kid. And I believe it was just a random gift from my parents. I don't remember it really being for a birthday or Christmas present. I could be wrong. I don't remember. It was almost 40 years ago. So, yeah, and that was a greatest thing about these vehicles that transform into other vehicles, is that they had different price ranges. So you could get a small gift like this. This is perfect to give your mate for his birthday. Or you would get bigger sets like the Rhino, which you would get as a main birthday present, like I did. So with this, I had this, I think, quite a while before I got any other masked vehicles, so he had nothing to go up against. But I managed to play with this for hours. I remember taking it to school and playing with it at school. I remember playing with it in my bed when I should be going to sleep. It was just mind-blowing. For when the age I was when I received this, I had my tiny little mind blown. And that to me is a great toy. Now, I did put Boulder Hill, the main playset of M.A.S.K, in at number 1 of my most disappointing toys. And that was because it was the main playset of such a fantastic toy range. And it just, for me, felt a little bit flat. It could have had a little bit of extra spice. So there you go. Now, as I say, this was the first M.A.S.K toy that I got. This I got as a gift one birthday or Christmas. And I spent hours playing with Rhino. It's fantastic. But the one that I played with the most was this one. Raven. With its flap down door wings and its turbo boost button. And its discs that fly out the front. And the greatest transforming mode ever, which was that flip, which is so satisfying to do. So really, from the whole M.A.S.K range, this would be my favorite of them. Again, hours playing with this. So there you go. Ken and M.A.S.K at number 4. What's in at number 3? But before we go to number 3, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you hit that like button. And if you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button and join in on the fun. Right, okay, number 3.
Gentlemen, the world is in terrible peril from this man, Baron Ironblood, an evil genius who is determined to rule the world. These are the creatures he has created to help him. Now you must create your own action force dedicated to the Baron's downfall.
And in at number 3, we have Palitoy Action Force. Now, these guys, I would just play with these guys for hours, mainly in the Christmas holiday from what I remember. Christmas in the UK, we had 2 weeks free from school, nothing to do, couldn't go outside because it was the UK, so it was pissing with rain most of the time. So what we would do, well, what I would do is play with these guys, and they would go on special missions. And they were just like the SAS. My grandfather had taught me all about the SAS, and it fascinated me that these guys would go off on desert raids just by themselves in a buggy. So here we have my original Z-Force buggy from back in the day. It's a bit beaten up, so the lights are smashed off the front and the back's a little bit broken, but I will never replace it because this is the buggy that holds all those vital nostalgic memories, mainly of Christmas time. Whenever I look at this, it reminds me of Christmas. It's fantastic. So I have the original driver in there as well, but the other 3 figures are, well, I had to rebuy them because I sold my original ones. We have the Z-Force radio operator. Now, it's very important if you're going to go away on operations, you need to maintain radio contact with headquarters at all times. I have the SAS Commando with his Tommy gun, which was very reminiscent of Second World War SAS. Love that guy. And the SAS Pilot, which was one of my favorite figures back in the day. Now, the great thing about this Jeep is that you can move this cannon to 4 different positions. You can have it here, here, or on the back here. Now, I had the Action Force headquarters whilst, at this time also, and that came with 2 more of these cannons. So what I used to do is have 1 cannon on the top here and 2 cannons on the back here. And it looked just like, to me, looked just like an SAS attack Jeep, which is fantastic when they used to go on their adventures, sometimes a rescue mission, sometimes a skirmish, mainly in the Christmas tree, which used to really annoy my parents when all the baubles used to fall out. So there you go. Now, their main opponent, when what they were fighting, what they were either trying to rescue someone from, or with the pilot, they were trying to steal it to find out its secrets. They would go up against this, one of the greatest toys ever made, the Palitoy Robo Skull from the Red Shadows. Now, again, hours of playtime had with this thing, especially with its secret little flap down here, made it look like you could kidnap and brainwash someone with that. Otherwise, it's sort of like just now, it's just a trendy meditation chamber. So there you go. Let's push that back a little bit and see if we can get the Jeep to fit on the turning table thing. So there you go. Number 3, a Palitoy Action Force. Hours and hours of fun.
My goodness, the Star Wars TIE Fighter and X-Wing fighter. Now your children can relive our great space battles or collect our wonderful Star Wars companions with Kenner's Star Wars action figures.
And you knew it was coming. Number 2, Kenner, or in my case, Palitoy, Star Wars. Yes, now I'm going to just put the whole range in as the best toy, second best toy of my childhood. I played with Star Wars so much with all different things. When I was very young, I had a few figures, and then I would reenact the movies or whatever was going on. I never really had too many figures until sort of a little bit later on, when actually Star Wars had kind of gone out of fashion and people were selling it all off at boot fairs. So I just got a whole ton of figures from boot fairs, which are, I think, the British versions of a garage sale. Anyway, so here we have Han Solo in his Endor trench coat. Now, I can't remember. Well, I had 2 of these guys, actually. I do remember I had 2 of these guys. I can't remember if I bought them secondhand or if I had one original from the packaging. But that didn't matter because I definitely had one with a weapon and with the trench coat. And I thought he was so cool with the trench coat because he reminded me of Clint Eastwood from The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. And just like in The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, Clint Eastwood's character there was a bounty hunter. So this guy was a bounty hunter. And that's the kind of fantasies I would play with these guys. They were pretty much bounty hunters making their way through the Empire. So you still had Darth Vader and the Stormtroopers as Imperial menaces, I guess, bad guys. But good old Han was doing his best to just stay out of the way of them. Now, he did have a co-pilot or a friend that helped him out, and that was Bespin Luke. I'm not sure if I called them Han and Luke or whether I had different names for them. I really don't remember. But I always thought that Bespin Luke was the best Luke figure. And he looks pretty cool in these sort of grey, beigey overalls. So these 2 guys would go out and try and catch their bounties. But they did have a bad guy, a bad bounty hunter that they would go up against. And who could be such a bad bounty hunter? What's the first one that pops into your mind? Yes, that's right. It was Pruneface. Now, Pruneface, I never realized, was a good guy. But in my fantasies, he was a bad guy. And he was definitely a boot fair pickup because I never had his soft goods cape and his weapon. So, yeah, poor old Pruneface ended up as the bad guy. Now, these heroes and villains did have vehicles to go around in. So Pruneface had a whole gang. He had a gang that consisted mainly of Jabba's palace guards and cronies, but they would go around in the Rebel transporter because I got one of those from a boot fair very cheaply, complete, and yeah, that was his vehicle. It was big enough for him to go in. And it was pretty cool the way you could take the back off and have those big sort of cannons at the back of it. Anyway, so that was Pruneface. Now, what would these guys go around in? Let's move everyone over to the side to make a bit of room. What kind of spaceship do you think that Han and Luke would have gone around in to fight the Rebel transporter? And that's right, you've guessed right. It was a snowspeeder. A snowspeeder was perfect spaceship toy. 2 figures, and then inside you can fit 2 figures. It had a little gun on the back. It had laser cannons on the front. If you stuck batteries in it, it would make a noise. Now, I know what you're thinking, Simon. Why have you not put the Millennium Falcon in here? Now, I did say at the beginning of this segment that really all Star Wars figures should be, or Star Wars toys should be in at number 2 because I played with them all. But the reason why I never really played with the Millennium Falcon, and I did have one, was that it was just too big. How could you use the Millennium Falcon in one hand, tiny child hands, to fight the Rebel transporter in the other hand, even if you were gripping it by the black gun bit on the top? It was way too dangerous. This was much easier to handle. So there you go. Snowspeeder, Trenchcoat Han, Bespin Luke, and Pruneface. There you, I will put this, because they give me the best memories. These are the best representation of Kenner Star Wars. Now, before we get into the number one, some honourable mentions. And one of the most honourable of mentions would be Diecast toy cars. I had a lot of these, be they Matchbox, Corgi, or Hot Wheels. Hours and hours of fun. Had a few tracks, had a little garage. My great-grandfather made a special parking garage for me out of wood, and you could open the top up and put all your cars and stuff in there. It was fantastic. Hours and hours of fun. Had a little roadways as well. All gone now, unfortunately, but I do still have a few of my cars, and I'm not going to spin this around too fast because they do all fly off. And it would be a shame to make 40-year-old cars fly off the turny table thing, wouldn't it? So there you go. Honourable mention number one, Diecast toy cars. And for my second honourable mention, as you can see, I don't actually own any of this toy. But the toy is Scalextrics. All my old Scalextrics my brother now has in his display, which is fair enough because I have a few of his toys in my display and in my collection, so I will let him have those. Now, we used to play this quite often in the vacation time, in the holidays. You get so many weeks off school and you can't be outside playing every day. As I said, grew up in England, pissing with rain most of the time. I used to love racing those cars, the smell of the hand controllers when they would get really hot and they would just smell like electrical burning. Having to pick the cars up when they flew off the tracks, trying to make the most spectacular crash was also awesome. Or if you could get level with your competitor, going into the corner and then just go too hard and take him off the track as well with you. Fantastic times. Anyway, so there you go. Honourable mention number two, Scalextrics. Now, let's get to the long promised number one best toy of my childhood. And in at number one, we have Lego, the best toy of my childhood. Could it be anything else? Seriously, Lego, people, Lego. I used to play with Lego for hours and hours, funnily enough, just like all my other toys. And I would build things. I could start building thing one day, and then 3 weeks later, I'd still be adjusting that model and making it into something else. Now, I have Space Lego here in front of you for a few reasons. One, it's because it was very easy to get to and bring it up here to where I'm filming this. I also have the yellow castle. That thing is very delicate, very difficult to move. I will bring it up here and make a video review of it if enough of you ask me to in the comments below. So the other reason why I've picked Space Lego is because I used to make a lot of spaceships, as you can see by this photo. Here I am sitting on some very groovy green carpet that my parents had in the living room at the time, with that fantastic 1980s TV behind me, which had all of 3 channels. And in my hand, we have some Lego spaceship creation of mine. And in my other hand, another tiny little Lego spaceship. And before me, some kind of Lego spaceport creation that I was busy building. Although I do see multicolored blocks of Lego in it, and that was not really my style. My autism would want to have everything all the same. So I was either beginning to build something or my brother had just built that. Who knows? Right, so there you go. Number one, everyone, Lego. Now, let me know in the comments what you think of my list. Is there anything on my list that would be on your list? Would Lego be at your number one? Or would something else be at your number one? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button. If you didn't enjoy the video, why are you still watching it? It's the end of the video, dude. Come on, might as well like the video. And subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. That way you can see more of my silly little videos. And talking about more of my silly little videos, if you want to see something controversial, check out this video. That's my top 5 disappointing toys of childhood. And yes, it is far more controversial than I expected it to be. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you on the next one.